Welcome to Advanced Data Analysis 1 with me, Erik Erhardt, Professor of Statistics at the University of New Mexico. In this video, we'll be looking at the first assignment, the first worksheet assignment, medical records. All right, so here are the instructions, and this is going to be a common set of instructions for all worksheets. Download the QMD file, that's the Quarto Markdown file, to your computer, open it in RStudio, edit it. When you're done, we'll render it, not really print, yeah, we'll render it, and then we'll print this to PDF and submit the PDF to Canvas. This video will cover that entire process, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I recommend that you create a folder on your computer for this class. You can call it ADA1, you can call it for Fall 23, Stat 427 or 527. Save it. Then, on Windows and on Mac as well, do a right click on the QMD file and save the link as something. Okay, this on different browsers may have different names, but that's what it is in Google Chrome. And I'm going to choose a folder. Now, I'll make a comment here that I hope you'll take my advice on. Don't save everything to your desktop. That's not a place to work. Create a file structure for yourself. For example, in my career, I put everything into Dropbox. Okay, and in Dropbox I've got a bunch of folders. And for example, well, yeah, there is a UNM folder, okay, and under UNM there's a whole bunch of stuff, okay. I do teaching, but for you I would have probably like courses or something, and then under courses have a folder for this class, okay. I'm going to save stuff to my desktop because my desktop is a temporary place where I can delete things at any time. It's just a temporary place, and I do it for convenience, but please, create a directory structure that you can live with for your life, okay? Everything should have a place, and that's true digitally, and it's true in your house too, okay? All right, so I'm going to save this to that folder. Let's open these two files. I'm going to click on them to open them in new tabs in the browser. I do that by holding Control and clicking in new tabs. You can do a right click and say open in new tab. Okay. The Quarto document is a text file. Do not open it in a browser tab and then copy and paste from here into RStudio. Okay. Download the QMD file and open it correctly. This is what it's going to look like when we render it. It's going to have a title. You'll put your name there as the author. It'll create automatically a table of contents. There's a rubric for how it's going to be graded. For each question that I've got, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I have the number of points that it is worth, and I have a set of instructions. Okay. We're going to go through and do this together. Okay. So that's what the document looks like. I'm going to close these two windows. Now that I've downloaded the QMD file, I'm going to go to RStudio. Later there may be data sets, and there'll be a link to DAT, D-A-T for data, and you'll download the data file as well. I recommend for my class that you don't create a separate folder for every assignment, but instead have one folder and put everything in that same folder. Everything is going to be named in a very consistent way so that it will all sort, and data sets will be grouped with the assignment that they belong with. So trust me on the file naming, that you can just put it in one folder and it will make your life much easier. This video, as you know, is under this link. All right, so let's go over to RStudio. All right, so now we're going to open the file. We need to go to the right folder and select the .qmd file, it will open it up in this top left panel. Okay. Now, because it will be a good pattern for later on, always after you've opened a file, go to Session, set the working directory to the source file location. Currently, my folder is in this D, Dropbox, UNM, Teach, etc. That's where it's looking to write files or read files from. But I want it to be in the same folder that I'm working. So, meaning where I open the file from. So set working directory to source file location. It will run this command, set working directory, WD, and then it specifies the path. Okay, and so now it has also changed it on this heading here. And if I do a directory of that path, it's got that one file in it because I deleted everything else. All right, so here we are. The first thing you should do after you set the working directory is render the file. Every file that I give you should render, meaning Quarto is going to read through this document and find any chunks of R code or tables or things like that, like down here there's a table, and it will do computations and stuff and produce the output, and then it converts that to a file. Now yours will probably automatically pop up as a not a browser window, in like a preview window or something. I'm going to show you. Here's my my desktop ADA1 folder. Okay, and it created from this QMD file. It created an HTML. That's the output, and then this folder that has the same name with the underscore files suffix. It has any supporting files that it needs, and there's, I don't know if there's anything in here really. There's some JavaScript. Okay, so that's for like functionality in the HTML file. But you can double click on that HTML, and this is what the file looks like. Right, this path is to my computer, and this is what I just produced. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about the structure of a Quarto markdown file and how the code produces the output. Okay, so I'm going to split my window here. Give me a second to position it into the recording space. All right, that should work. Okay. Okay, so the top of a Quarto document has something called the YAML. YAML stands for yet another markup language. And markup is right, HTML is a hypertext markup language. LaTeX is a markup language. There's many markup languages out there. With markup, you specify certain codes to change how the text presents itself when it's rendered. So in the beginning of this YAML, there is a title of the document. It doesn't always need quotes. You can put your name here. I'll go ahead and change my name so that we can see that change happen under the author. There's the date, and if you put this code in there, last dash modified, it actually just puts today's date when you clicked the render button up here. Okay, I've also got this description, which is just me putting in the source of this document, which is my course. Okay, that's the beginning of the document. The way this is graded when you submit it to Canvas, it doesn't matter that your name's on there, so you don't need to change that if you don't want to, but you can. Then we're going to specify the format for the output. You can specify HTML, PDF, Word document, several other formats. We're just going to use HTML because it makes looking at it in a web browser very easy. I think you'll prefer that method in the long term. For final products and stuff, you may prefer a PDF file, and then you can focus more on the formatting using LaTeX formatting methods. There's many different themes. The theme specifies like the colors, the fonts, how things are bolded, the text sizes, things like that. Highlight style, when we have code, that will come into play. Page layout, there's different options here. Just accept all of my options for now. If later on in life you want to take a few hours and go through the Quarto if you go to the quarto.org website and go to the guide, you can learn everything about formatting Quarto documents. And of course, start with just authoring, Markdown basics. Okay, that's the place to begin. All right, and then we've got this. So the YAML starts with 3 hyphens and it ends with 3 hyphens. Okay, after that, if you put another 3 hyphens, it does a horizontal rule, HR, in HTML. HR is horizontal rule. And then just like Wikipedia, actually, let me make this window. Let's make this so we can see both of these at the same time, regardless. All right. Just like Wikipedia, a single pound sign is a section, 2 pound signs is a subsection, 3 pound signs subsection, etc. So we've got rubric, and notice rubric. Well, when this is bigger, I think. Notice the table of contents like appears or disappears depending. It's responsive to the size of the document. So sections and subsections appear in the table of contents. We've got medical records assignment, and notice we've got 2 stars to begin and end. 2 stars represents bold, so we've got some bold text. If you want to see other formatting for HTML, you can go to that Quarto page, or in the help there is Markdown quick reference. And if you look at that in the help window, you'll see bold and italics, different headers, ways of constructing lists, and so on. Okay, lots of stuff. So that's where to get help for that. Then we've got some text. Here, let me move this over. Sorry, this video is going to take a little while because I'm going to do every little detail. So play it at a faster speed. That's my recommendation for all videos. Play it at a faster speed. So then we've got, in many data analysis projects, you'll be working with previously collected data. Okay, so that's just this text here, and it's rendered as a paragraph. Okay, I'll also just read it because we're going to do this assignment together. However, it's important to understand what data looks like, as well as how they are coded and entered into a spreadsheet for analysis. So we're not going to enter our data into a spreadsheet, but we are going to construct a table that has the form of data. Tidy data, where every column is a variable and every row is an observation. Okay, just a full rectangle. That's what data is for us. So our scenario is that we're going to imagine, so here's the text over here that's rendered to the right. Imagine collecting medical records for 5 patients seeking treatment in a hospital emergency room. You'll be making up fake data for this assignment. Points for each component are indicated in parentheses. Okay, so then I've got an ordered list, or enumerated list, 1, 2, 3, etc. In fact, you don't even need to number these 1, 2, 3. You can have them be 1, 1, 1, 1. As long as they are a number point, R will, or Quarto, will know that what you want, and it will increase the numbering. So one nice aspect about this, of just doing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, is that you might add a number in between, and it will automatically correct all the numbers. So since I've just made that silly change, let me, and I changed my name too, right? So let's re-render this. Okay, boom, boom, boom. When you click render, it opens this new tab down here, background jobs, and it created the markdown file, and then it uses pandoc to go from markdown to HTML with some certain options and so on, and it created the HTML file. And I think if you have the default settings for RStudio, that your preview window will refresh. Okay. Also in the preview window in RStudio, I'm sorry I can't quite demonstrate this because I just don't have, is it under viewer? I just don't have it set up in the default way. There's a button to click on the preview window that says like open in browser. And if you click that, it will open the HTML file in your default web browser. And I recommend viewing it in the default web browser because that's how we're going to print it to PDF. You'll get better functionality in the browser. Okay, so, oh yeah, I just reran this, right? So I'm going to refresh by pushing F5. That's the same as hitting the circle to reload. So it changed the author. If I scroll down, recall I changed these numbers to 11111. Well, R knew to increment that as an enumerated list. Okay, so here are the instructions. Select 4 variables recorded on the medical forms. Okay, so we're going to have 4 variables. That means 4 columns of data. And I've got now a bulleted list. Over here I've got indented, and I've got bullets, asterisks, starting that list, and those appear as circles. One of the variables should be a unique identifier. At least one should be a quantitative variable, so something numeric, and one should be categorical. Okay, and the categories can be nominal or ordinal, just like names, or they can be something ordered, like bad to worse. Okay, then select a brief name for each variable. Determine the variable type and the range of admissible values for recording each variable. And if you need to have an indicator code, we can include that. You should include that as well. For example, if you're coding mate, well, this is hospital forms. We'll come to it. We'll get to it. Then we're going to list the variable names, labels, types, and response codes in a code book. Okay, we'll work through that. Then we were actually going to make up data and enter it into a table. Okay, and finally we're going to render that and upload it to Canvas. All right, here's the reminder about where to get the help for doing markdown stuff. All right, this is a template for the assignment. Modify this and turn it in. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll down a bit. Okay, I put a line there. That line shows up there. Notice I've got, there's a couple ways of indicating bold and italics. You can use underscores or you can use stars. I think the way people are doing it more so are stars. So I'm going to put stars. Notice this is italicized right here. Okay, codebook is its own section. I've got this special environment with these triple colons, and that creates this note. I've removed the more complicated table options discussed in the video. That's a video that I produced for previous semesters. This verbatim block is going to be what we want. Okay, you can make a verbatim code block with your variables and values. Okay, so now we're going to create a code chunk that isn't going to be interpreted by R or any other language. You use the 3 left ticks. That's the top left corner of your keyboard under the escape key. You've got a single inverted comma, a single left apostrophe. You put 3 of those to begin the code chunk, and then 3 of them to end. And notice that everything in that chunk has this different color. Okay, that's how you know that it's working. And anything that you put in there will appear on the right in the output exactly as you put it in there. Sometimes in HTML that's called pre-formatting. It has the markup code using fixed width fonts such as Courier or Vendetta or something, or Consolas. These are fixed width fonts where every character has the same width. unlike, this is like a Times New Roman style where like letter I is very narrow and the letter Y, capital Y, is wide, right? So that's a variable width font. And this is a fixed width font. This is the type of computer code, fixed width font type thing that we're going to be wanting for this code book because things are going to align well. All right, so first we're going to create this code book. So let's go back up and revisit. We need at least 4 variables. Okay, so we already have sort of the format of 3. So I'm going to start typing here variable 3, and we've got going to have a description. So I'm just going to copy this stuff down here. Okay, and then we're going to change everything. So there's our 4 variables. You can make more if you want, but you know, the point is for you to get the idea, not for you to overdo it. Okay, 1 variable should be a unique identifier, 1 should be numeric, 1 should be categorical, and a 4th one. Okay, so let's think about people coming into an emergency room at a hospital. ID, I think, is fine for an identifier. It is a unique identifier. Identifiers are categorical. They may take numbers, but they're still going to be categorical. Like, just because I came in before you to the emergency room doesn't make me less or more than you, right? We are each our own category of person. All right, let's maybe our unique identifier can be our social security number. Okay, so that's going to take a number like 000, you know, that format, to, what do we have, 999. Okay, so that's one example of a unique identifier. You probably need an alternative for people who don't know what their social security number is, or assigned. So maybe something that's assigned, or assigned could be like AAA. Oh, we could do something like A for assigned, and then we can have the month, day, and then the minute, hour, minute, something like that. So a person within a year has a unique identifier based on that year. Okay, so there we've covered a few examples. Good, I've never had that idea before. So let's do a category. So maybe this is like type of injury. So injury. So right, there's lots of ways of forming variable names. This is called camel case when you've got humps. Actually, it's something else when it's capitalized in the front. You could do it with underscores. This is called snake case. You know, look at each of these and think about like which one's easier to read. That's what you want to. You know, you want a variable name that's as short as possible, but descriptive enough that you understand what it is immediately, and you want it to be easy to read, so that as your eyes are scanning hundreds of lines of code, you can grok it. Okay, grok, G-R-O-K. Look it up. So I'm going to go with this underscore snake case version, and maybe what if it was snake case with capitals? Okay. It doesn't really matter, but choose a style and be consistent. There are suggestions for, there are lots of style guides out there. The Google style guide is pretty good. There's an R style guide in the Tidyverse that is good. In fact, the Google style guide was modeled after that one. Okay, so injury type. We can do type of injury. And basically, we're going to do blunt versus penetrating. All right. So if you've got a big bruise versus you're bleeding, right? So it's categorical. So let's do a 0. So this is what I mean by over here coding. So determine the variable type and the range of admissible possible values for recording each variable. Create indicator codes as needed. So for categories, you should have both labels and levels. The labels are what humans read, and the levels are what the computer need. So let's make these 1 and 2. Let's do blunt and penetrating. Okay. Blunt trauma, puncture trauma. You know, I'm not a medical doctor, right? Puncture? Penetrating is like, okay. All right. So that's the type of injury. And always, NA is not available. Right? That's our missing value code. If someone falls into a category of neither, then not available would be the answer. I don't know of you know, why would you go to emergency room? I guess you could like be ill somehow, right? So maybe if we're, you know, we're only choosing 4 aspects here, but if you had, there's lots of reasons to visit the emergency room, and it may not be because of injury, but it could be because of illness, right? All right. Let's do something numeric. Age, obviously, I think. Age in years, okay? And probably 0 to 120 years covers it. We shouldn't expect anyone to be older than 120. What do we want for a 4th variable? Let's do something different. How about date of birth, which you often see coded as DOB. Okay, that one is common enough that I'm comfortable using DOB. Alternatively, date of birth would be a good variable name as well. Okay, for the sake of this, I think I'll actually use the expanded one. Date of birth is actually a date. Is date categorical or numeric? Well, it has a natural order that can be actually converted to like the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970, for example. So it's numeric. It's a type of numeric, but it's special in that it's a date, you know. So I'm going to specify it as a date, but I'll put numeric in the parentheses. It's outside probably the initial discussion of data, but there you are. The range of values, well, we're going to have, I guess, not every date's going to make sense, right? It's only going to be in the last 100 or 120 years, say. So let's do the format. Maybe we'll do year, month, day. That will be the format, and the range. Okay. The range probably starts at, let's say 1900 to, well, today, right? Someone could have been born today. Okay. Very good. So that's the beginning of our, well, those are our 4 variables, all right? Let's go back and make sure we've got it. So we've got 4 variables. We've handled that. I would expect most of you to do like a second numeric, like you could do height, weight, your BMI. You could, you know, something that you're not gonna ask someone their BMI, but you can ask anything that a person at the emergency room desk would ask you. You know, think of what a doctor would ask you if you're in trouble health-wise. Select a brief name. We've done that. Now, ideally, 8 characters or less. I actually sort of disagree with this. This is sort of older suggestion. I think having it be verbose enough that you understand exactly what it is more important than shortness. Shortness, I would put as the secondary quality of a variable name. Determine the variable type and the range. We've done that. List the variable names, labels, types, response codes. We've done that. Enter the data into the data table area. Okay, so we've got our 4 variables. This is the table. So let's scroll down and look at this table. this is the original looking table. We've got a variable name on the first row separated by the pipe. That's the vertical line is the shift backslash under the backspace key and above the enter key on the keyboard. That gives you that vertical pipe. So that's what's delimiting or separating the columns. Then there's a special line which gives you the big underline, and it separates the bold variable names on the top from the data that comes below. That line also has a special quality in that that is the line that defines how many columns your table has. I'm going to show you a couple examples, and then down here is just like some made-up data. So let me add a fourth variable name. Okay, var4. We're going to fill in our data in a moment, and I'm going to render it, and then we'll refresh this over here, and notice variable 4 doesn't show up. Okay, it's because this line that separates the header from the data is only specifying 3 columns. So now I'm going to add 2 more columns, so we have 5. Okay, and let's render this, and I'll show you what happens. Okay, so now we've got 4 columns. Actually, we probably have a 5th column, but we just don't see it. Okay, let's try putting in just a little bit of fake data, okay, in one of the columns of data and see that it can show up as the 5th column. Okay, so it is important for this line that we specify how many columns we've got. So we've got 4 columns. I'm going to delete all the stuff that's here, and we're gonna put in our own stuff. So we've got from our code book, we've got the ID, we've got the injury type, we've got age, and we've got date of birth. We've got 4 lines, and then we have to add data for enter data for each patient, and if we go up to the top, we've got 5 patients. Okay, so we're going to create data for 5 rows worth of patients. We have ID numbers, so these are Social Security numbers. So I just sort of make things up. Okay, there's one Social Security number. Here's another one. Oops, Okay, here's another one. Oops, am I doing the same things? Okay, here's another. And then this last one, let's make it one of these ones that we just created. I don't know what today's date is. It doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, anyway, that's the date that I'm recording it on. So A is for, what did I say? Assigned. I'm just assigning them a label. Oh yeah, I guess this doesn't work. Oh no, hold on. Month, day. Oh, I put in the year. We actually want minute, second. So let's say that it's like 12 noon. Okay. All right. Otherwise, if it was only month, day, year, you're not handling duplicates. People coming in multiple of these in one day. Okay, then we've got injury type. Now we've got these codes, right? We're not going to use the labels. We're going to use the numeric levels of the categorical factor variable. So let's give these top 3 some blunt trauma, this person a penetrating trauma, and we don't know this last person, they don't have an injury. Okay, then we've got some ages. Let's make these people all adults, just so we're not worrying too much about them. Okay. Okay, numbers of years. And then, well, we also have their date of birth. Uh-oh, now I've got to do some calculations. So probably shouldn't ask for both of these date of birth and age. Probably you just ask for date of birth and then allow the computer to calculate the age from their date of birth minus today's date, you know, that difference. So let's not worry too much about getting the calculations right for ages. Let me just fill in some ages or some dates. Okay, so 1999 to 54 or 24. That's a date. 2020. This person's not 56. They're like 3 years old. Okay, but you get the idea. 1945. Okay. Definitely have some mismatches here. 1964. Month. Day. Okay. 1988. 7/26. Okay. All right. So let's render this and make sure it looks like we've got a table of data. Refresh the page. All right, IDs, injury types, ages and dates of birth. Obviously these mismatched, but that looks good. So we have completed the assignment. These are examples. So I'm going to delete some of the stuff that we don't need anymore, right? I don't mind having this template for the structure of a variable there anymore. Yeah, I think it's fine to keep that in there. All right, so everything's done. Let me render it one more time, and I've refreshed the page, and everything looks the way it should. Okay, we are done, almost. So now let's go back to the web page and remind ourselves what the instructions are. Okay. All right, so we've edited it and we've rendered it and so on. Now let's print the HTML to a PDF file. So this is what I've found to be the sort of the easiest way to get the format into a PDF document for submission to Canvas. Historically, we would submit HTML files and that worked great, and then the system stopped liking HTML because it could be riddled with viruses or whatever. So now we have to submit PDFs. So when you're here, Control P will bring up a print dialog. Maybe this up here also does print from the menu. Okay, and I recommend just print it to a PDF file, just like it is. Okay, don't worry about the way page breaks or anything. As long as the content is there and it's readable, then that's what to do. Print it into the same folder is my recommendation. The default name comes from the title of the document. This is where I would probably make one change, but it's up to you. I would grab the file name from the document that you're editing and use that as the file name for your PDF, but that's up to you. Okay, does not matter. Okay, so now we've got a PDF file here. Let's open it up and make sure that it looks correct. Okay, looks good. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Always, always, always check the thing that you're about to submit. You worked hard creating it. Make sure that what it looks like to us is what you intended. All right. Finally, from the web page, we're going to turn it in to Canvas. All right, so I'm going to go up to my link for Canvas. I'm going to open it in a new tab, Control-click. Now this page, my website in this video is not built out yet, but you do see the to-do over here for the medical records. I think you probably have these will show up in chronological order. We can go to assignments, where there are going to be worksheets and also exercises, and under the worksheets, I guess this is upcoming assignments. I'm viewing this as a student, so this is what it should look like, but you'll probably have a bunch more here. Okay, so I'm going to click on here, and you can drag and drop. You can choose the file to upload, or I don't know what Canvas files are. Let's just drag and drop, because that's probably what you guys are going to do, right? Just drag it like this. Alternatively, you know what, I'll do it the other way, since that is pretty straightforward. I'm going to copy this path, and I'm going to click choose a file. I'm going to navigate to that path and select the PDF file. Okay. Now, here's the most important part. Always preview what you've submitted. You can't do it here, apparently, but I'm going to submit the assignment. Some people submit the assignment and then they walk away, like it's a movie and you've blown something up and you're just walking away. But you want to check that what the grader can see is what you intended. Okay, so I'm scrolling up and down. I don't see it. So where is it? All right, I'm going to press F5 and refresh the page. So I refreshed the page, and the document appeared in this. So what did I do to refresh it? You can click the little curly arrow. I pressed F5. I think Control R or Command R would work as well. So just scroll through and make sure that what you submitted you can see. Because if you can't see it, we won't be able to see it either, and you'll get a 0, and it'll be sad. All right, each assignment like this, you get 2 attempts, okay? So if after you submit it, you realize, oh, I only put 4 instead of 5, or whatever, you want to change it, you get a second attempt. I'm not going to give you a third attempt, okay? Just like when you submit it, make sure it's pretty close to done, and you get a second chance, all right? But it's sort of too much to allow. The grader will only grade the last attempt and not even look at the previous attempts. All right, that completes a lot of stuff related to working with RStudio, rendering Markdown files, submitting to Canvas, and doing this first assignment. Please choose other variables than I chose for the most part, but otherwise, that's a good way to get you started. All right, well, thanks for sticking with me for 3/4 of an hour to get this introduction.